What happens when late-night comedy collides with political controversy? Jimmy Kimmel, one of the biggest names in late-night television, is facing a storm of backlash after his heated comments about conservative commentator Charlie Kirk went viral. Some are calling for him to be canceled, while others argue it's just comedy doing what comedy has always done, pushing boundaries. But has Kimmel gone too far this time? Let's break it down. Jimmy Kimmel has been in the entertainment world for decades. From his days on The Man Show to hosting Jimmy Kimmel Live, he's built a reputation for sharp humor, celebrity interviews, and political satire. But in recent years, Kimmel has become just as famous for his political commentary as his comedy, often targeting conservative figures, Republican politicians, and right-wing media voices. His latest controversy? A fiery rant aimed at Turning Point USA founder and conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The comments lit up social media, sparked outrage among Kirk's supporters, and added fuel to the ongoing debate about cancel culture, free speech, and the role of comedy in politics. So what exactly happened? Why is Jimmy Kimmel at the center of this controversy? And is he really at risk of being canceled? Who is Charlie Kirk? Before we dive into Kimmel's remarks, it's important to understand who Charlie Kirk is. Kirk is the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative nonprofit known for advocating limited government, free markets, and traditional values, especially on college campuses. He's also a frequent commentator on TV and podcasts, often criticizing what he calls the radical left. Kirk has a passionate following among conservatives, particularly younger audiences, but he's also one of the most polarizing figures in American politics. Supporters praise him for speaking truth to power, while critics accuse him of spreading misinformation and stoking division. What did Jimmy Kimmel say? On a recent episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kimmel took direct aim at Charlie Kirk after Kirk made headlines for controversial remarks about current events. Kimmel's monologue included jokes, sarcasm, and some pointed insults. But instead of being brushed off as just another late-night jab, the comments struck a nerve. Kirk's supporters flooded social media, accusing Kimmel of crossing the line. Hashtags like #CancelKimmel and #BoycottABC began trending, as many conservatives demanded consequences for what they saw as bullying and hate speech disguised as comedy. The backlash. The backlash came fast. Conservative influencers, podcasters, and even some politicians weighed in, calling Kimmel's comments unacceptable. Supporters of Kirk argue that this is a double standard, that comedians can take shots at conservatives without facing real consequences, while similar jokes aimed at liberals would cause outrage. On the flip side, many of Kimmel's fans defended him, saying this is exactly what late-night comedy has always been about, holding the powerful accountable through satire. They argue that Kirk, as a public figure with a massive platform, isn't immune to criticism, especially when he makes provocative statements himself. The bigger issue: cancel culture. This controversy highlights the larger debate around cancel culture. Should comedians be canceled for making jokes, even if those jokes offend a large group of people? Where do we draw the line between comedy and cruelty, satire and slander? For Kimmel, this isn't the first time he's faced cancellation threats. Over the years, he's been criticized for everything from old comedy skits to emotional monologues on politics. Yet, despite repeated calls for boycotts, he remains a staple of late-night TV. Some argue this proves that cancel culture is more about outrage than real consequences. After all, ratings for Jimmy Kimmel Live haven't collapsed, and ABC hasn't hinted at letting him go. Others warn that repeated controversies could eventually take their toll, especially as audiences become more divided. Why this matters. At the heart of this story isn't just Jimmy Kimmel or Charlie Kirk. It's the ongoing clash between comedy, politics, and free speech in modern America. Late-night television has evolved from pure entertainment into a platform where hosts regularly weigh in on political issues. This makes them heroes to some and villains to others. For conservatives, Kimmel's comments reinforce the belief that mainstream entertainment is biased against them. For liberals, it's another example of comedy speaking truth to power. And for the rest of America, it raises the question, Has comedy become too political, or has politics become impossible to avoid? So, is Jimmy Kimmel really canceled over his comments about Charlie Kirk? The answer is complicated. While hashtags trend and outrage spreads, Kimmel still sits behind his desk every night, delivering jokes to millions of viewers. The backlash may hurt his reputation among conservatives, but it could just as easily strengthen his support among those who see him as fearless in speaking out. At the end of the day, this controversy says less about Jimmy Kimmel and Charlie Kirk as individuals and more about the culture we live in. A culture where comedy, politics, and outrage collide on a nightly basis. What do you think? Should Jimmy Kimmel face consequences for his comments, or is this just another case of political overreaction? One thing's for sure, the conversation about cancel culture, free speech, and comedy isn't going away anytime soon.